Good evening, friends, and welcome to part 3 of my journey with Mohanji, heartfelt sharing. I have realized it's a bit of a higher responsibility at my end to share so much I have been blessed with over the years, and the certain things that only I could have experienced being with Mohanji from the very beginning, in his so-called formative years and throughout the very, very high speed, rocket speed, with which he moved on into the expanded consciousness and becoming a pure instrument of the grand tradition for all of us to hold on to and aim at the highest goal of liberation. So last episode, I had a small hiccup for like half an hour. I tried to connect, one time, second time, third time, fourth time, and then at some moment I had this frustration with the internet, with everything, and I had this thought in my head: I'm just not gonna do this again. It doesn't work. We don't have internet connection that's good enough. I'm just gonna end with these live sessions. And then 2 days later, I had the first one friend from Bosnia sending me the experience that she was listening to my live session, and all of a sudden she had a very intense presence of Mahatar Babaji, and that she had fits of like crying and laughing and then sobbing and laughing, and a lot of cleansing happened in her. Then another day passed. Another friend from Serbia, she shared she was bitten by a dog. Her name is Mariana. I send my love at this moment. She's a very dear friend of mine and active at ACT Foundation in Serbia. And she was bitten by a dog and had a lot of pain in her right hand. And plus she's a hairdresser and she cannot do her work because of this pain. And it's been going on now for a while. So as she listened to the part where I shared how Mohanji went to extinguish the fire with his bare hands, and there was plastic in his skin and all melting and burning in the palms. And later on he applied Sai Baba's Vibhuti and it was all healed. As she was listening to that, she told me that she was watching the video, and then when she would close her eyes, there was a clear shape visible in her inner vision. It's like a head and two palms like this. So she was not sure what that was. And then again, she would close her eyes, open the eyes, this kept coming. And her cat was on her chest because she was like down, and her cat was intently staring at something, like literally frozen. So she could feel that intense presence. And then somehow she felt it was Shirdi Baba, and she prayed for help. She didn't know how she can get this vibhuti, if she could be helped as well with her hand. So then the next day, one of our Himalayan school traditional yoga teachers, who did her teacher training with us in Shirdi, she had a packet of vibhuti. She happened to come to Novi Sad, and then did not know anything about this. And she was intuitively guided to gift her a pack of vibhuti. And then she was overwhelmed to tears, Mariana, and she applied vibhuti on her bitten palm. And she said more than 50% of the pain is now gone. So she's very grateful, and I said, okay, I will share your experience just simply as a way to feel how the tradition works, how the grace flows. And it's again a boost for me to continue with whatever little I can share, because I'm not talking just about myself. I'm talking about the grace of the tradition and just how saved we were so many times over and over again, and how much we learned from those ups and downs immensely, so deeply, and how much we were enriched by those experiences. So as I said in the previous episode, Mohanji almost ended his life when this choking experience happened. And then years later, there was another experience where we almost lost Mohanji. So if the time permits, I will touch upon that experience as well. I will just now start sharing, and then we'll see how much time is there. But throughout all these ups and downs, as I said, the grace was with us. After meeting Mohanji, I felt there was a testing happening. First of all, masters were testing whether I got attracted to Mohanji just like physically. So they made him more ugly in a way. His skin became very dry. It was almost like elephant skin. I remember certain parts, especially the shoulders, arms, legs, the different parts of the body were like just so dry. And he had periods when it was getting worse, then a little bit better, then again worse. But it didn't look very, very good. So if I joined Mohanji just because of his looks, I wouldn't have stayed, right? Then another thing, when I met Mohanji, he was the CEO of a company, but after some time he lost his job, and I also lost my job. So that was that financial insecurity aspect. So if I married, if I joined Mohanji in this relationship out of need to, that female need for security, somebody with deep pocket, I would have left him. And as it went on, more and more tests were coming my way, and only later on when I introspected, I understood there were tests. It's not like it's written with a test coming. It doesn't go like that. You know, only later on you realize what's happening. So I'm just very happy that I always listened to my heart, and that I stayed on the path, and that I eventually learned to recognize who Mohanji is beyond his physical presence, the consciousness of Mohanji, what that really is. I don't know if I 100% fully understood it by now. I hope I have improved. But it's definitely not something that is in the books or something that somebody can teach us. It has to happen from within as an inner recognition, a conviction that can pass through any test. So in those Rashidia days, I was gently nudged into the understanding of Mohanji's consciousness. And, you know, he was always very humble about all of it. He was not displaying anything. He was always very quiet, introverted. And even if something which can be termed as a miracle happens, he would not make a big deal out of it, you know. So naturally, I was just kind of merrily flowing through all that. But I was touched by some of those experiences. So I'll just share a couple of them. So after we moved to Rashidia, as I said, it was a very humble accommodation because both of us lost our jobs at that time. And it was all in kind of wood and golden wood and orange, very warm colors. And it was just literally one room and half of the kitchen and the toilet bathroom. That's about it. But it was just like a small nest, and a lot of experiences happened in that little room. So one of the experiences was dimensional shift, I would call it that way. One day, Mohanji was in a deep state. I could make out that he's in a sort of communion or something deep is happening. So I sat next to him, and after a while, I asked him, what is it that he is experiencing? And he said, I'm in a communion with a whale. So that was quite of a surprise. He was communing with a whale telepathically. And I was just quiet about it. And then he said, would you like to experience it? So I said, yes, I would love to. So I touched one part of his body. He guided me how to do it. And then after touching, I retreated back and sat. He was lying down and was like immovable. And as I sat in meditation, not only did I connect with the whale, I literally became the whale. It was this grand movement through the water going up and down. And it's a massive being. Whales are huge. And the speed with which they move is so great. And the power that they carry, and the connection with the unity consciousness. I don't think that we understand these grand beings, whales and dolphins, how connected they are, and what a blessing it is to have them on our planet. But I was within that veil. I was I was with the veil's consciousness at that moment, and I will never forget this. It was just so powerful to experience this. I didn't know who I was. I was fully immersed in the veil experience for some time. And then when I came back into the feeling of my body and my identity, I was just so awestruck. And for it took me a bit of time to come out. So this is one experience that I remember with immense gratitude. And then another couple of days or weeks sort of passed, and again I saw Mohanji. Sometimes I would just enter the room and I see him in a deep state. So I wouldn't know what that really is, what's happening, but I could feel that something big is happening. So again, I came very slowly and gently. I was trying not to disturb, and I asked him, Can you kind of give me a Shaktipad and kind of include me in the experience? Or I just simply asked if I could get a Shaktipad and be absorbed into that energy. And at that moment he said, you can't, you're not going to be able to take it. So that I didn't fully believe that. I said, no, it's okay, trust me, I can take it. Because I felt, I've been doing yoga practice and daily meditation, and I felt that I'm ready, I can take it. But because I was pestering him again, he at some point just briefly touched me. I think he just touched my shoulder or something. And what I remember next is that I felt this huge energy, and I had a need to lie down. But not only did I lie down on my stomach, I literally squashed my face, I squashed my face into the bed. And in that squashed state, I don't even know how I was breathing through my nose, I stayed like that for 3-4 hours. So I was completely knocked off. And then I understood. Mohanji used to give this experience how one man, in the time of Shirdi Sai Baba, one man kept asking him to give him enlightenment. Baba said, you can't take it. And then at some point, because he was pestering Baba, Baba gave him the Shaktipad and gave him the experience. And he was running around Shirdi like a madman. He had no control over his body, thoughts, emotions. He was probably like making sounds and like a derailed person running around. And at some point, finally, other people begged Baba to make him normal again. So he took it back. And then this man understood. We cannot ask for higher consciousness states or enlightenment experience and all that. It has to happen organically from within. There is no skipping. Through the grace of the Guru, one avoids sidetracks, one speeds up the process, but we still have to walk. And this is very important to understand. Otherwise, we are not able to cope with the energy. The nadis, the subtle energy meridians, are still too blocked to handle the strong current gushing through the subtle body and physical body. So our entire system has to be properly aligned. So working on the alignment, opening the heart, surrendering, all this is very important for us to experience the highest of states. So no skipping of lessons. That was the lesson of that one. And then another interesting experience was one day we were going to, I think we went for some yoga session or something happening in downtown Dubai. And we sat in the car and we were about to start driving. I was driving. And I realized it's very foggy outside. So I was wondering what's happening. And the further we went, the fog became so thick that I couldn't really see anything. And the fog was on the windscreen as well. So it was foggy outside. On top of that, the windscreen kept getting fogged to a point where, I switched on all the required buttons, but it's not going away from the windscreen. So I'm literally, as the these wipers are going left and right, only a fraction of a second after the wiper moves, I can see something, and again it's fully fogged. Then again the wiper moves, I can see a bit, then it's gone. So it was very frustrating and very scary to drive the car like this. And we were approaching the part where we joined the big road, which has like 4 or 5 tracks. So I was getting more and more jittery and restless about this. And I said, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, this fog is not going away. And he said, okay, let me try. And then I had this ego moment where I said, what do you mean, let me try? You even wear specs. Even without the specs, I'm not able to see. It's very difficult to see. And he said, okay, let me try. So I was like, okay, you do it. So I stopped the car. I had him take over the driver's seat. And he was just very, cool about it. And then he sat, elegantly switched on the car and started driving. And as if nothing was happening. So I was confused. I was looking like, what's happening? So I looked through the windscreen and I realized that it's not fogging like it was just half a minute ago. So so I asked him, but how is it possible? What did you do? And he said, So he wouldn't say anything, but so these are like the kind of things he used to do to drive me crazy, But I remember them with like a lot of joy, because he would not want to say how he did it, what he did. He simply would, do his thing. But on a lighter, so that's on a lighter note. But to get more serious, whenever I went through really tough moments, Mohanji never used his spiritual powers for himself. He told me this, that he will not ask masters, help me with this, help me with that. He said, I'm the extended hand of the tradition, so I don't ask for myself. I trust that I'm being taken care of, so there's nothing to ask. Masters can see what we are going through. And that was a powerful lesson for me, because it's like almost like sitting on a pile of money, and when you're hungry, you can't touch it because it's not for you, it's for others, right? So it's one of those tests that masters have to go through. Yeah, so having the powers and not using them for themselves. And when certain attacks happened, never ever did Mohanji curse anyone or wished for somebody to suffer or to revenge on anyone. So this didn't happen. And I feel that, again, it's as we progress on spiritual path, we have to pass that big test of the heart. We have to learn how to say, like Jesus Christ, forgive them, Father, because they know not what they do. And this is really a greatness of spiritual stature that one can achieve. And Mohanji has told us, as you shine brighter on spiritual path, the shadow becomes stronger as well. So soon on our path, we started experiencing some of those shadow moments, or the moments with the shadow forces as well. So as we journeyed together, at some point we left Rashidia because Mohanji got a job in Oman. Finally, his luck button got switched on, and he got a general manager's position in Oman. So he was not finding it easy to find a job, because at his level of positioning, you don't get the job opening so frequently. At my end, because of my master's degree, I was being told that I'm overqualified. Whenever I looked for a job, they were telling me you are overqualified, or something was not happening one way or the other. So this job search was getting very frustrating. But one big blessing was that at least Mohanji had a job. And at that period, I was fully dependent on him financially. And on top of financial expenses every month, I had a debt on my credit card with certain payments. I was chased by the bank because I shared in the part one that my company went bankrupt and I was left with $30,000 of debt on my credit card, which was really a burden I had to carry. And on top of that, I had car loan because I took car, which you have to pay monthly installments. So it was quite a burden on me. And at that time, Mohanji really helped me a lot. And he never made me feel like he's doing me a favor. It was all shared from the heart. And I have to say how grateful I am for that. Because I was always a bit sensitive on this independence issue. It was since the refugee days, war days, that I always worked hard on, and I had my own income. And since I was 18, I had a job with UN with a good salary, and I was used to earning money and not depending on anyone. So this was a completely new moment. For the first time in my life, this happened, that I could not handle my monthly expenses and somebody had to help me. So it was a new experience, but it was deeply rewarding to have his support at that time. So as he moved to Oman, I was not able to go to Oman because, you know, in the Middle East, as a lady who is not married, you are observed with a bit of suspicion. Especially I come from the Balkan region, so they would have a small doubt, what if she's a prostitute? And that really used to annoy me a lot because I could feel that humiliating kind of prejudice in the authorities sometimes. And I was not able to get a visa and live in Oman without a job. So I was applying for jobs constantly, and I was applying for jobs in Dubai. In the meantime, I was trying to have my ends meet by living within my means, which meant I would rent out a room, not even an apartment, just a room somewhere. And very often those accommodations would not be very suitable. So after Rashidi, I remember first for a short time I stayed with one of Mohanji's friends, but then he could no longer keep me there, and something sudden happened, like his family members were coming and he just asked me to leave the next day. So I remember this feeling where I was asked to leave and I had nowhere to go. I just woke up with this horrible feeling in my stomach and complete helplessness, and I had nowhere to go and I had nowhere to sleep. I had no money, and I was feeling like really low. And I thought that evening I would sleep in the park, or I would sleep in my car on the seat, or whichever. And then one of Mohanji's friends had another friend, Dr. Samata, who lived in a very nice area of Dubai called Dubai Marina, a fancy part with fancy, big, tall buildings. And she agreed to have me stay in her apartment for 2 weeks. So from starting the day completely low in despair, I suddenly was given a room completely covered with glass all around, with a beautiful view of Dubai. I think she was on the 42nd floor or something like that. So it was just one of those intense down and an up, you know. So when you find yourself in that experience, it's complete feeling of gratitude, or it just expands the heart. Then another thing happened. I put a small ad or something like that I'm teaching yoga, like private sessions as well. And suddenly, for the first time, somebody replied and said, I would like a yoga session. And it was a gentleman who lived in Dubai Marina, and then he gave me his address. It happened to be another tall building just across the street from where I stayed with Dr. Samata. So the next morning I went downstairs nicely, hopped over to another building and conducted the yoga session, and he was so happy with it that I remember I got $100, which meant the world for me. So I was just completely on a high for a while. But that was only for 2 weeks, and then the journey continued with my staying somewhere for a couple of days, moving in and out. But deep inside, I knew that this was me facing the ghosts of the past, facing those painful impressions from the refugee days. And I told myself, I don't care, I'm gonna make it, you know. I'm gonna go through this day by day. I'm gonna just stay in the present moment, and even if I sleep on my yoga mat, I will be fine. So now I was already armed with some kind of spiritual understanding, and I had Mohanji with me and Baba and the masters of the tradition, and I just felt that I'm gonna go through this. So in the midst of all of this, I got another room finally, but I remember that for a while there was no bed. I had to sleep on the floor. And then as the agony continued, there was some kind of issue with bed bugs at that time. Many apartments in Dubai got bed bugs. If you ever had the experience of bed bugs, you will know how annoying it is. They literally crawl into your clothes and in your bed sheets and somewhere, and you don't know where all they went. But literally you have to throw away everything because you can't get rid of them. They just stay in the little creases of the clothing. So on top of everything, I had to burn or throw away more than half of my clothes. And I was just getting agonized. In Mohanji, I could visit him only over the weekend. He was staying in Muscat, capital of Oman, which is like 4 hours by bus, or I used to go by my car, and for 4 hours, and then go and visit Mohanji, and then kind of charge my batteries, and then go back into my tough reality of life in Dubai. So during those days, I would always visit Mohanji in his office and kind of observe how he was very hands-on with his work, and he was very professional. And we used to joke, he would write a very complicated report, which people would take 2, 3, 4 days of continuous contemplating, planning, brainstorming sessions, all this stuff until they put it all together and make a presentation for their highest bosses. He would do that in like 2 hours. So he never used to come to work with that stress and frowning, and he was always very light. He would do his early morning sadhana, then he would go to the office, always very bright and light, and he would focus and do his work very fast. So he was just a different breed altogether. And his spiritual experiences were going on continuously as he was working. And I remember one time when I visited him in Muscat, he used to wear this suit and a tie, and he would have a ponytail. At that time already his hair grew, and with the ponytail he would sit in his office. And one time when I came, I noticed we were talking and this bird started chirping, and they chirped. The more we tried to talk, the more they chirped, because they would not be ignored. And then Mohanji explained me, every day they come, I send them blessings. And they then kind of soak in the energy, and then they're happy. It's like they come to be fed with energy. So I'm going to do it now. So he did that. And I watched. There were 2 birds. And these birds would soak in the energy, and then their feathers would just go a little bit. And then they would shake a little bit, and then they would settle. And they were happy, and they would fly away. So this was really cute. And even later on, maybe I don't know how many months later, I saw this again. And these birds once came when Mohanji was in a meeting with people, and he couldn't turn towards them and send them blessings. So I watched once. It was so funny. There were other colleagues present, and he didn't want to tell them about these birds and sending energy. It was not appropriate. So he kind of put this one hand underneath the other, kind of like did this, and then he was sending the energy this way, backward, while talking to these people. It's as if you keep your, hands together, but invisibly, I knew what he was doing. He was sending the energy again. So this kind of really interesting things were happening. And I remember when he once got sick, that these birds were missing him for 2 days or so, and then they found him at his accommodation and visited him. So this was yet another amazing example of how beings in different bodies or animal bodies, or just, it looks like an ordinary bird, but they were not ordinary birds, I'm sure. And how connected they felt with that consciousness that he was already fully immersed with. Yeah, so I'll go back to my challenges in Dubai. So as I remember the time when this whole issue with the bed bugs and the this agonizing rejections at the job interviews and continuous struggle, it just weighed heavy on me. And after a couple of months, I just felt so disheartened, And then one test came. One of my friends from the older days from UN informed me that there is a job opening. There's a job opening in UN mission in Jordan. And he said, I'm working at that mission. I can easily get you an admin position, like admin manager or something. And later on, you can find your way through the hierarchy, for a more suitable position. And that really shook me, because I kind of sat with that for a while. And then I kind of looked more deeply into this. And I had to admit to myself that I just knew if I leave now to UN, I will get back into that track. And Mohanji and I will not stay together. I could feel this. So I will get my financial security back, but will I be happy? And then I went through everything again, all my past experiences. And I told myself, it's okay, I'd rather sleep on the floor. I'm not gonna go. So I told them, thank you, I'm not coming, I'm fine with where I am. So that was that. Then with Baba's grace, there were friends of Mohanji's, Shivaraman family, and they're Baba devotees as well. And they said they have one room which nobody's using at the moment, and for a couple of months I can stay in that room. So suddenly I shifted to Deira, another part of Dubai, and it felt amazing. It felt amazing to have my own room and bathroom. I can't tell you how grateful I was. So I felt some stability started happening in my life, and it felt really great. So at that time I could come out of that panicky kind of energy, and I was able to do a bit more sadhana, meditation, and kind of get more settled within. And that was the period I remember when something amazing happened. Mohanji has already started giving initiation into Shaktipat. So he has explained to me that Shaktipat is one of the key blessings on our path, and it helps people to speed up their evolution many times. So to give Shaktipat physically himself in different parts of the world, it will not be possible, but he was given a permission by the masters to initiate others. And one master warned Mohanji, don't do this, no master does this, because it's also you kind of giving a part of yourself, it can backfire on you. If the person is not pure enough, they could use it in a wrong way. But he decided to do it. So one person got initiated in Dubai, and when I heard that, I deeply desired to get this blessing. So, but I felt shy to ask Mohanji, can I also get it? It just didn't feel right, it didn't feel appropriate. So I kept quiet, but I kind of prayed for it. I did ask from the masters, and I kept quiet. After a couple of days, I remember I was in that accommodation in Deira, and it was only like 7 p.m. early afternoon or early evening, and suddenly I got a message from Mohanji. wear your pajamas, brush your teeth, and lie down in your bed. Baba said he's working on you. So I was really surprised to hear that. So I did as he instructed me to do, and I lie down in my bed. And as I lie down on my back, I remember how suddenly intense energy started flowing through my body, especially the feet, palms, top of the head. It was all flowing. And then the entire body felt like rising and descending, just like when we float on the ocean waves on our back, rising and descending. It was just very blissful feeling, and it went on and on for a couple of hours with huge energy gushing through my body. And with that, I slept. Then the next day, I had no idea what this was. It was Baba was working on me. That's all I knew. But I told Mohanji it was really beautiful experience, and I was feeling so grateful. Then the next day, in the afternoon, it was time for the power purity meditation. I've now forgot to mention how Mohanji received it, but I've spoken about this many times before. When we were in Rashidia, he has received the power of purity meditation telepathically, fully, and with a lot of grace it was given to him. And after some time he started conducting this power purity meditation. It was recorded on a CD, and after he left to Oman, we started playing this CD with his power purity meditation in the office of another friend of ours in the center of Dubai. And it was the day, I think it was every Saturday that we, or I can't remember which day it was, maybe Thursday. Every Thursday we used to do the meditation in that office. So I would, it was time to go conduct the meditation, and that afternoon. But early afternoon that day, Mohanji, he didn't call me. I just felt that energy again. It was early afternoon, and I just thought maybe I'll just lie down for a sec. And I lie down, and phew, the waves started again, very strongly. And it went on for another 2-3 hours. Then when I look at the watch, it was like half an hour before the meditation, and I usually take half an hour through the traffic. So I immediately got up and quickly got ready, went to my car, and I started driving. Just grabbed the CD and I started driving. And only then did I realize that I'm not being normal, that something is different. First of all, I was driving the car, but I was not able to see anything, literally as if I was cross-eyed. I was driving, everything was blurred. It was like a blurred vision with a lot of vibration on my third eye, and in that way I was driving through the traffic. Another thing that I noticed was that I could feel energy all around me, and it was a mixture of feeling and seeing, or sensing, all blurred together. So when there was a car on my right side or left side or behind me, I could feel those cars within my aura, right? So that meant I was so expanded. And I could feel all that. So that was like really, really special. And on top of that, I could not even see red light or green light. Especially when I joined this big road with different tracks, it was like a highway size. It could have been dangerous, but not for a single moment did I have a worry or a fear that something bad could happen. I simply relaxed and I drove. And as I was driving, the energy started becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And I was already nearing my destination when I felt that the heat within my body rose so much that I felt I was going to burn. It was literally unbearable. And that's the point when I just picked up the phone. I can't remember whether I messaged Mohanji or called him. I just told him, please help me. I'm burning from this energy. I'm burning. I can't take it. And he just messaged me back, and he said, it's okay, you'll be fine, just buy yourself an ice cream. So then I kind of looked, what, an ice cream? And I thought he's joking, right? Like, it's like, this is not a joke, I'm burning here. He said, yeah, you'll be fine, just get an ice cream. So, this is like one of those frustrating moments with him when I don't know whether he's joking or not, and he's taking it all very lightly, but it's not a joke for me, I'm burning. So I somewhere reached the building where the office is, with that big hall where we had the meditation. And usually it's packed with cars and you can never find a parking, but that day there was one parking right in front of the building, right next to the small grocery store, which is on the ground floor of the building. And I literally had a minute. I just parked, went inside the grocery, kind of stumbled upon there, just took some ice cream, paid, came out, started eating the ice cream. I wasn't licking, I was literally swallowing it. And while I was walking in the hallway, because I was like, I didn't want to be late. And I entered exactly at the right time. I swallowed the ice cream and I felt something within me settled. I was still feeling the heat, but I could handle now. Something changed. And as if I got more grounded with it, and I was able to handle it from like a different level. And then we started the meditation. I remember that my hands were shivering when I was putting the CD in that CD player. And Mohanji said, today you can give Shaktipat, you have been initiated. So I was like, wow. So that was my Shaktipat initiation that happened through distance. I never knew one can receive an initiation on distance, right? That's not something anybody ever told me, so I could not have had an expectation either. But now that many people, more than 100 people, have now been initiated into, we call it now Mohanji energy transfer, because later on one master said you should not call it Shaktipat, only masters give Shaktipat, so we changed the name to Mohanji energy transfer. And so more than 100 people are now instruments of that energy around the world, and everybody has their experience. Some people have, when they are going through the initiation phase, now we have a process where you chant a specific mantra, and then you invoke Mohanji's presence, and then you place your hand onto the top 2 chakras, and it works for all of them. So it's just the way to show just how amazing it is to connect with the consciousness. It's not Mohan the person, right? It is the consciousness that works through Mohanji that makes all of this possible. So it's been a wonder of wonders to experience all this, always without any preparation or any tip being given to me, simply just being thrown into the water and learning how to swim on the way. So that was how things worked for me most of the time. Okay, so I'll just shift on to a couple of other points I had to note down because there's so much to talk about. At this time, Mohanji went through a double divorce. He has decided to go officially through the divorce with his previous wife. And she had a serious health issue, mental health issue. And there was a Swami that he loved a lot and connected with for years, even before I met him. And this Swami recognized who Mohanji is. And even some astrologers were predicting that Mohanji will be known in the entire world and this and that. So this Swamiji wanted to keep Mohanji within his ashram. So he was, when Mohanji was in this phase without the job, he was kind of, you could say, scheming to keep Mohanji there. And when I came there with Mohanji, when he introduced me to this Swamiji, he was not too happy because he realized that plan of keeping Mohanji within his ashram and having Mohanji kind of work with him or for him will not bear fruit if I'm there. So I was like an obstacle. So he tried his level best to kind of persuade us not to live together. That didn't work. We moved into Rashidia. Then later on, he tried to, it was a really, really silly moment, where he tried to play a card of making me jealous, like to make me believe that Mohanji was with some other lady who is like an actress and somebody great. But he didn't know that I met this actress, you know, and she was a really nice lady, and we became friends. And I knew that she's not interested in Mohanji. She just doesn't vibe like that. And women can easily feel when there's some other woman interested, you know. It's like all women have this intuition. So I could clearly see that she was just a friend with Mohanji, and that was a friendship relationship 100%. And I became friends with her as well. So I was looking at this Swamiji like, what is he trying, you know? It was a bit silly. But later on we learned also that he played a major game in manipulating a lawyer who was handling Mohanji's divorce case. So this divorce was going on and on and on, and there were court expenses and fees to be paid. There was just, you know, Mohanji and I could not get married until he divorces his first wife. And he hasn't even seen her for more than 10 years, and he never thought that he was going to get married again, so he never even thought about divorcing because it didn't matter to him. He was not interested in relationships. But now it was an obstacle for us to get married. And without marrying Mohanji, I could not move to Oman. And, you know, there were so many things legally linked to each other. So this issue with the Swami came out. And at some point, the truth about his hidden agendas came out to Mohanji's awareness. And we said that at the time when he finally got this court case over and divorced his ex-wife, he also divorced his best friend. And it was not easy for him to go through this. I mean, he trusted the Swamiji to a point where he wrote some blank checks. You know, the trust was like really at the highest level. But it was not meant to be, and the friendship just could not continue. So at some point, all of this went on, and we have reached the point where I started getting some job opportunity through another friend, Sudeep, who got a job with Mercedes-Benz, and I got a job as his PA. So he said, I will hire you as my PA. So that was amazing. And finally, a breakthrough happened. And I had to wait for another couple of months until my visa went through and all that, but I finally moved to Oman. And at that time, again, the joy of living together with Mohanji continued. And I remember there was a phase that I used to call the Ghostbuster Phase. There was my boss, Sudeep, he had an issue of a ghost in his house. So literally his maid was super scared. Every night there were footsteps, there were things falling down. There were, you know, like the typical issue with a ghost in the house. So they tried different things, nothing worked. So my boss asked Mohanji if he could help. So Mohanji said, okay, print a picture of mine, but like a bigger size, not like A3 or bigger. And light oil lamp and let it burn continuously throughout the night and day. They just keep adding oil, but that lamp should burn. And the moment they did that, this ghost just disappeared. And they couldn't believe it, you know. So experiences of people with Mohanji started increasing through power purity meditation, through different ways. More and more people were connected or connecting with Mohanji. And especially with these issues which were not, which nobody can handle. Like if you have an issue with some energies, in unwanted dark energies and stuff, there's nobody to ask. It's not like you go to a lawyer or a doctor, right? It's something it's not tangible. So somebody at that level of subtlety has to handle it. So there was another friend in Dubai. She had, I remember, an issue with these spirits, you could say, entities were so disturbing that she was like a well-off lady, and she had a huge mirror, almost like with a golden plated or something, like a huge big mirror, which was on the wall. And one night they even managed to knock that mirror off the wall, and it broke, right? So they were moving things in the house. They were scaring them who were staying in the house. So she asked Mohanji for help. And then he looked through the third eye, and he said, you have built this house. In fact, they obviously bought the house that was already built. It was built on the ground where there were some graves. And these spirits were upset. They felt it was their territory, and you kind of barged in. So they are trying to scare you to move away. So then Mohanji went into diplomatic negotiations. I find this very entertaining. I have to laugh about. So he spoke with these entities, and he told them, look here, you have to learn how to live with them. They now live here. You live here also. So they will respect you, you respect them, but you will have to learn to live together. So once he kind of put his foot down and explained it to them, then they became quiet. So the peaceful coexistence started happening. And also remember one quite dramatic moment when Mohanji and I were sleeping, and in one moment he had his astral body went to his parental home in Palakkad, Kerala. And he told me, I was just sleeping and suddenly I was taken to my home in Kerala. There was this huge, horrible being with like deformed body of a giant size with like ugly head, and I don't even know what kind of qualities, but not very pleasant to look at. And it was this spirit entity was trying to enter the house of my parents to harm my parents. So Baba just took Mohanji, his astral body there, and he said he was sleeping, and all of a sudden he found himself on his back with his feet like this, and he just saw this entity, and that very second, like a reflex moment, he pushed with his feet, he pushed this being far, far away, and it was like a very strong kick with both feet, and that being was gone. So I've noticed that that was my intro into Mohanji's activities during the astral body travel during the night. So then I became more aware that when Mohanji sleeps, he doesn't sleep the way other people sleep. I could clearly make out, if he falls asleep before me, I could clearly make out by the breathing pattern when he's sleeping. We have a specific way we all breathe when we sleep, right? It's like, there's like this relaxed exhalation. But when he starts going into astral travel, literally you can't even hear the breathing. It's so soft and subtle. And then I know, he's gone, he's traveling. So I asked him at one point, what is it that you do every night? Because I'm observing that you're not, most of the time you're not in your body. So he says that in the astral plane, there are many souls who are like a bit lost. He said, imagine like you come to the airport, a hugely crowded airport, and there are people who are running around and they don't know where their gate is. So they are like desperately running around trying to find their gate. So he would be there directing them, okay, you go here, relax, everything will be fine, you go there. So many times he does this kind of work. Or one time he woke up with really strong muscles. It's almost as if he went to a gym for 1 month and he would have to go to a gym for 1 month to build up so much of muscle. So I asked him like, oh my God, what happened with your body? Look at all these muscles now all of a sudden. So he said I was in the astral plane last night, and there were these beings who were like, they were like big wolves or like very predators. And there was one innocent being who was very soft and helpless. So I went and I fought with all of them to save this being and help this soul to go further into the light. So I was like, okay, and that's when I kind of started. I offered myself, like before going to sleep, I would offer myself if I could be of any help. May I join Mohanji in his astral journeys and simply be there to serve and be of help. So I called it the astral seva, the astral social service. So a couple of times I had glimpses of myself with him. And usually these glimpses would be in this 360-degree awareness where you can feel everything around you and in front of you and behind you equally. I had 2-3 times some reminiscences of this, but I could never fully 100% remember it. Yeah, so then we have reached a point where the time came for us to get married. It's actually physically, legally to go through that process. So that was in April 2010. So I'll leave that part for the next episode. I've already taken a lot of time. And I'll just end this session with my gratitude on being able to witness and experience so much with Mohanji, so much that really opened my eyes to understand how masters work and what a huge responsibility it is that they take, not just for themselves, but for everyone. It's a huge responsibility, continuous vigilance, responsibility to handle duality in the best possible way, while all the time connected with the highest of consciousness and the purest of love. So it's a huge blessing to witness this and to see that it's possible as somebody lives physically in the physical body. And in Mohanji's case, he was given the blessing to connect with the people the way they are. So they can connect to him in whichever way they feel most comfortable. Right? So he went through the corporate world, then we are in a relationship, so we went through marriage. He has been a father, so he's went through all these worldly experiences. He was not a master who lives in celibacy in a cave, far away from people. He was given the task to be among the people and still bear that torch of higher consciousness, still show that it is possible to be in this world but not of this world. So thank you for being with me tonight, and we meet again next Saturday.